Right, you eight, this is your challenge. So we've designed a building that is structurally how it would be constructed in industry. So you would have these which are like steels going up, and so these would usually be an I-beam, so we can have stresses and strains put across. There's usually a cross member that goes across, obviously cross member because it's made up of more than one part. So when we talk about things that are modular or prefabricated, these are where we tend to sort of refer to these words. So what we're trying to do on this is the initial design, which we've changed slightly. You've got a base or a ground floor with the foundations. You've got the uprights that come up which hold the roof, which then has the joists going across. And you've got one floor in the middle and one floor at the top. The ceiling at the top is actually angled at a pitch of around 15 degrees, which allows the water to run off, which would then go into things such as your guttering. And so these are the details you can put on. But the first thing is you need to build or construct part of this floor. Now what we're going to do is supply you the parts, but in certain sort of intervals, should we say, to when you need them, so you don't get them all mixed up. It's not that confusing to put together, and it's done exactly how you've done in year 7, where you've constructed things with 2D design. So we've actually drawn this on 2D design, and Sir is actually cutting them out at the moment, so I'll just go and have a quick walk over to Sir. It's over here. So you can see we've 2D designed it. We're just speaking to year 8.
Oh, year 8.
So we've got things down here as well, which we're cutting these parts out, and that's being cut out on the laser cutter. So it's exactly like we did with acrylic, so there's no difference to what we're doing now to what you would have done yourselves last year. And of course in industry, model making is quite an expensive sort of commodity, and the reason it is because architectural models are used to design things so people can physically see how they all fit together and what they look like visually and how the light's cast on them. A lot of it is done through walkthroughs now with computer-aided design, but models are still something that's quite important. So even with our model here, we've actually changed this model slightly to make it easier for you to assemble, but also to make it more modular so you can add bits on. So for example, on our piece here, we've got this part which would have been where we envisaged being sort of like at the front of our school, where the doors are here and people can walk in, where you've actually got an overhang or a canopy to basically shelter from the weather. We sort of got rid of that really, because obviously by us putting it on this side, we've decided that that would limit what you could do, because then it'll always be the same on here. So what we're actually doing now is we're sort of doing a model that looks very similar to this one, but this bit isn't included. So if you did want to put a sort of veranda on, or a canopy or a carport type thing, then that's something that you can construct, or we can supply as a kit for you to add on as a modular, but then it frees up what you can actually do with this. Right, so how are you going to build this? Well, it's pretty straightforward. So over on this table, this is the version, and the first thing we're going to get you to do is draw the layout and construct the floor. So this part is actually this part going down here, so this is the first part of the floor. So we're going to do the first floor, and it fits together, very simple, and we'll show you that in a second. Now this won't take long for you to assemble at all, and that's the idea of it, but the detail that you then need to plan is probably what's more important. So the scale that we're using to this is a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, so actually it's 1 to 20 looking at this one. So 1 to 20 would mean that 5 centimetres here is actually in reality 1 metre. So that's what we're doing. So every one of these centimetres here is equivalent to 20 centimetres. So every one there is equivalent to that much in real life. So it's 1 to 20. So each one of these squares is roughly a metre. So if we're doing the maths from that point of view, we can work out that there's 4 squares here. So that would be 4 metres by, so you've got 6 down there, 6 metres going that way. So 4 times 6 would be 24. Obviously we'll be using other metres from there, so that would be the surface area that you get squared. So you can work out the area for that point of view. The other reason we've designed it like this is we was told that you've been ordered in some A3 card, so we've actually scaled it now, so this fits nicely onto the A3 card, And this is quite important because before you assemble this together, you're going to have to create where you think the floor plan will go. So for example, where are the stairs going to be? Because people need to get up to the top. Is there going to be a lift? Those type of things, you'll need to draw those things on. So I'll talk to you a bit more about that, and there's no reason why you couldn't do that in 2D design. And I'm going to show you that a bit later on towards the end of the video, that you can actually access for that bit. But for the assembly, just for the first part, let's talk you through how we do that. Right, so we've got the parts here, and you'll get this in a kit form. So what Mr. Bradley's doing is put everything into a bag that you can assemble, so you get the parts at the right time. And you've got the long members here, and you can see that the profile, you've got a sort of one sort of going down from there, and all the rest are facing or opposing the opposite direction. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we've got the right amount of cross beams to actually assemble. Now if you wanted to, before you do this, you could paint them, you could paint it while it's on. Realistically, is it going to make a difference? Probably not, because you're going to be sticking walls and interior walls and flooring and all types of things on there as well. So we've got 5 of those, and these 5 are literally going across this way, so that will be that 5. So once we've done that, we just turn them so they're all facing the same way. So when I've done this part, we turn them facing upwards. So we've got some bits that's facing up, some bits that's facing down, and then we've got the cross members that come through here. Now occasionally when we cut them out, you'll find that some of these have actually got little squares in. They just pop out, so say they are on the laser cutter. And then all you need to do then is line these top bits up with the slots down there, and they literally push in. Now in reality, these are joints that we use all the time. They're called cross housing joints, and most carpenters, and certainly when you're in year 10, will be using these joints to construct things. And they basically just slot in like so, and then you just literally repeat that going down. If you wanted to put some PVA glue just on them as you're going down, that's fine. Be very careful not to break them and put too much effort in to do them. We've cut this out to 6mm sort of MDF. So MDF, if we just talk to you a bit about the material, it's basically, so I'm just trying to get that in. So the material basically is sawdust that's mixed together with the resin that we turn into manufactured boards. So we can use it from all sorts of waste wood, so it's good for the environment. Not so good once we've used it though, because it's mixed with glue. It's very hard for us to recycle, but the actual product itself is actually made from the waste of other products. You can see how this will go. So the next one we just literally move down, put it into line with the others, and we can start to assemble. So we're going to assemble the first floor first, and then work out where the layout of the first floor is, because that will depend what you're doing at the bottom. So we'll talk to you a bit more about how to do this on 2D design as well, but that's literally how it assembles together. You can't go wrong. These bits just slot into place, and like I say, you can glue them prior to it, and that's pretty much the first floor constructed. So on the card, you'll see that you've got your card here. You'll need to then draw out the layout of where you want the rooms to be. So maybe you want the stairs in the middle, in which case you cut these bits out, ready to go. And then these parts here, you might be that you actually want interior walls coming through to build up from, and we can measure those out. So these are actually helping you scale them. You don't have to stick to where the rafters are, you can come halfway, etc. But usually one of these you've got to think is around 1 metre diameter. So 4 metres isn't really that sort of distance. Of course you could do 1 to 40 and say that each one of these is 2 metres, in which case that would be 8 metres by whichever. So it's up to you what scale you're using, but whichever scale you decide to use, all the furniture and all the things that you put in will need to fit to that scale.